Welcome back to My Milk, the only advice show that features a cat eating in the background. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. It's now Monday, the start of the new week, and I just want to go over a quick little thing about the structure of these episodes. I'm looking to improve them. I've seen your feedback, and it sounds like people are more concerned about how I kind of sometimes go on tangents and seem like I lose track. I'm going to try and as hard to minimize the tangents and get on track and keep on track so the episodes are more consumable and more precise. I've been writing notes, I've been keeping everything documented. I have a good structured episode for today, and moving forward we will see a better structure for the episodes. However, I'm still working on the editing aspect of it. I'm not as quick of an editor as I want to be. I would love to edit it as much as possible and add all the statistics and all the facts and really cite sources, but I spend a lot of time on the episodes. But I don't have a lot of time to get these episodes out. If I'm going to be doing them weekly, I need to be able to sacrifice one thing. And I think for right now, the sacrifice is I got to edit kind of quickly. I got to kind of turn around these products pretty quickly. Once a week, doing these advice shows. I work a full-time job. It's not an excuse, but it is kind of an excuse. There is a lot that goes into this, and I do try my best. So please bear in mind, I'm only human. This isn't really my professional job. And at the end of the day, if the advice doesn't work, the advice doesn't work. If the advice isn't good, the episode isn't good. I got to live with that. So for today, we have one piece of advice, because the double prompt, actually it was technically a triple prompt. Last episode kind of went pretty long, so I'm going to try and narrow this down to at least a 10 to 15 minute video. We'll see. Today's prompt is how to deal with people who think they know everything. I think I want to start off by saying I think it's not wrong to have confidence in what you're talking about. I think what goes wrong is a lot of people nowadays feel like they know everything and they have a almost superiority complex about it. I suffer from this sometimes. I'm willing to admit my fault, and I think my fault is I feel like a know-it-all sometimes. As I was making this video and as I was doing the research, I really did take a lot of the advice that I read, and I'm going to be looking to hopefully implement that into my everyday life and moving forward, try and be a better human when it comes to, not being a know-it-all. It's not a nice feature to have, and sometimes it kind of rubs people the wrong way. That is my little personal TED talk, and I'm done after that. I'm going to go right into the advice. My first piece of advice for you guys, for anyone that's dealing with someone who is kind of the know everything type, whether it's a friend, family, coworker, or just someone that you interact with daily, I would just say, starting off, choose your battles. Identify what type of know-it-all you're talking to, whether it is out of a place of insecurity or low self-esteem, whether it's overcompensating for, being a part of a group that knows a lot about something. Some people do overcompensate and act like they know a lot about something. Some people do it to kind of avoid being caught knowing something that they don't actually know. I think there's a lot of times people fake fandoms or fake liking something because other people like it, and you're like, okay, I don't want to get caught, so I just want to know a bunch of random facts about it. And then they'll argue down points, and then didn't mean to hit my mic there. They'll argue down points, and it comes off very, harsh. You don't want to get into a fight with someone that just wants to avoid being found out. There's some people that are more of a superiority complex. They want to just be the dominant person in the friend group, or they want to prove their point. They believe their own point is so right that they believe that they're the superior person in the conversation. That's a toxic one. That's one that you need to try and avoid. If that's constantly happening to you and you feel like you're being put down because someone just wants to constantly be right, identify and maybe set boundaries in that in that relationship. I'll get to that point though in a little bit later. Um, there's some people that are just ignorant. They'll just kind of be not interested in your belief or your point of view, your perspective, and they will just kind of ignore what you're saying to be right. And that's also another toxic trait. That's one that they don't respect you on a core value, that they're willing to just pretend to be right to ignore the fact that you might actually be right in that scenario. Some people are naive. This is another whole kind of deeper, maybe it's a traditional thing, maybe it's something they were raised upon and they're naive on their views because they get information from one side and they don't look at the whole grand perspective of things, and they don't look at every perspective. There's a couple other ones, obviously. There's some people who are afraid of being vulnerable, instead of admitting that they're wrong and opening up a side of them that might be a little bit more open to criticism. They're willing to battle things down until you're willing to give up, and then they'll move on. A lot of times, this is someone who is insecure, not willing to be wrong because they know that being wrong means that they are weak. But I don't think that's true. I think that means that they're willing to learn, and that's a healthy mechanic. But for some people, people view intelligence as this high value, but I think the most intelligent people are willing to learn. Again, we can go deeper into it. There's a deep psychological level of like who you're talking to. It matters for. There's some people that are genuinely just naive and might not even realize they're doing it. And then there's some people that are intentionally do it to hurt you. So again, choose your battles, identify who you're talking to. Is it based off ignorance or insecurity? Is it based off of being called out? Is it an overcompensation or a superiority thing? Just take your time, identify the battle, and if you're willing to engage, try and practice these small things, like practice active listening in the conversation. Understand their perspective and acknowledge their points. The more you just want to, like, because you hear a little bit of misinformation or you hear something that you know is wrong, when you battle back at someone who is a know-it-all and wants everything to be right and thinks that everything they say is right, and you battle back with a perspective of like, you're wrong, and you use you terminology, and you're like, hey, I think you're wrong. Hey, I think you're doing this wrong. Hey, you don't have the right information. That's becoming a retaliation attack. So they will be on the defense, and then it turns into a fight. Instead, adapt the I statements. Instead of saying you're wrong, say, I saw something different. I saw this information. Put the onus on you. Say, hey, you could be right, but I saw this and I want to show you this. And that can usually help. That would end up being a situation where you can offer some information without preaching. Because once you get to a point where you are deep into your phone, showing information, explaining yourself, explaining your reasoning, showing it to them, and they're already reluctant to take the information, you've already lost. And it's not a win-lose situation. I should make that very clarified. But a lot of people in an argument think there is a win and loss situation. I think when you argue with someone, most of the time you're already losing because you've already lowered yourself to get into an argument. But there's sometimes that, yeah, you do have to start a disagreement. You do have to have a conversation about it. But there is ways to handle the conversation in a healthy, mature manner. For example, offering information is important. There's sometimes people get misinformed and they'll say things without really realizing the ramifications of what they're saying. But when you offer the information in a package of saying that you're wrong, it becomes a personal attack on them. At that point, it's not about the information. It's about you feeling like they're so incorrect that you need to correct it. And at that point, they're going to just want to lash out. And that's why I said that there are battles that you have to choose because some people are doing it out of insecurity, some people are just naive, and then there's some people that are just actually toxic and want to hurt you in a way that makes you feel inferior. They want to almost assert dominance, which is not fair to you. Please set boundaries in those relationships. Those relationships are only damaging. They're not going to help you. Um, if their know-it-all behavior is becoming like very condescending, dismissive, and like just disruptive in your own life, it is okay to politely set boundaries and move forward with your life without them dragging you down. Obviously, they have an agenda that's supposed to hurt you, and you don't want that in your life. You are supposed to build yourself up. Don't have people around you that want to tear you down. I believe I kind of covered a lot of the general aspect of like the initial engagement in the conversation, but I do want to open up something that can help also intro into the conversation in a more healthy manner, and that is just asking open-ended questions. Don't immediately go uh into you're wrong, that's incorrect. You should ask where they're getting their sources from. You should be like, hey, can you tell me how you got to that conclusion? Can you tell me how, like, in a sense, be more open to learning what they're learning. Where'd you get that from? What do you mean by that? Do you like? Can you tell me where you learned that from? And maybe what you'll find is where they're getting their resource from is not trustworthy, and maybe that's in one grand scheme of things something to learn from, and you don't use that information and you move forward knowing that there are people out there that use that information, and you are a smarter person for engaging in the conversation in that manner because now you're learning from their mistakes, and maybe you can actually help them out. Sometimes I would say it's easier just to lose the battle and walk away than it is to engage and push forward. In general conclusion, a know-it-all ranges from different personality types. Some are malicious in nature, some of them are just insecurity, and that's something that they need to work on themselves. Some of them are low self-esteem issues, some of them are overcompensating, some of them are just worried about being kind of called out in some sort of general sense. Others are more toxic in nature, like a superiority complex. They believe that their own beliefs are better than yours. Lack of interest in your perspective, cognitive bias, naive biases, illusion of information. They might be misled and misinformed. There's plenty of different reasons. I believe the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that describes how people who are limited competence in a particular area tend to overestimate their own abilities. They lack the intellectual insight to recognize their own limitations and thus confidently argue with those who are more informed. So basically, that they think they're more informed than you when in reality they're not. So they overcompensate by just battling points down. So it is a normal thing to happen to people because people get kind of washed up in the moment, especially when arguments get more passionate, more agitated. Some people get a little bit more inclined to lash out towards you. And if that's happening, feel the need to regather the conversation, control the conversation, feel free to step away. A know-it-all is not much of a know-it-all if nobody's willing to listen to them. So if you walk away and you take your time and you reevaluate the conversation and then you're like, you know what, it's not even worth engaging, you're doing the right thing by doing that. So I commend you next time you get into an argument with someone and you feel like that's a losing argument, no matter what you're doing, it is okay to step away from that losing argument. Nobody's going to fault you for not wanting to engage in someone that's not willing to back down from their point of view. There are people in life that truly don't want to benefit from the conversation. Instead, just kind of want to bash and prove that they're right. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And honestly, it takes some time to let that sink in, but it's tough. It's tough to feel a sense of being ignored, and it's tough to feel like you're not valued in the conversation. And if that's happening to you, I want you to know that it's nobody's fault but the person that is doing that to you. You are all sorts of valuable for your information. If you are passionate about something, continue to be passionate in it. Work hard in whatever you do. And I hope that they can understand and realize that they're at fault for, you know, trying to hurt you. Being malice and being malicious in nature is never the right thing. So, if you found this information helpful, please let me know in the comments down below. If you found it that's missing some points or you don't really agree with the information that I provided, please also leave a comment down below. I would love to hear the criticism and I would love to hear the compliments. The more you guys engage with the videos, the better the videos do. Liking, comment, subscribing, sharing, just genuinely put it out there. I really would love for this to become something that more people can rely on as some sort of small resource. I think a lot of times people are scared to ask these type of questions, and I love that there's people that are almost coming out of their shell to ask questions about stuff that they feel need to be talked about. And this was a great one, for example. But everything so far, all the prompts have been awesome. I'm so grateful to read all of them. If you have something that you want to ask, in the description there's a form. Fill out the form. I timed it last episode. It takes like about a minute to do. So if you have any time throughout the day and you have a question or a prompt, come to any of these videos. In the description is the form link. In my Discord, from my stream Discord, there's a form link. All of that stuff is in the description. If you want to follow me on anything, all of it's in the description. I have it all laid out for you guys. I hope you have a wonderful time. Peace out.